Well, welcome back. We have to undertake the conversation. We do encourage you to always join us. TV3 Ghana is always available for you. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Threads. Let us know what you think. And then also add the hashtag TV3 New Day. We also do encourage you, please make sure you memorize the short code *439#, *439#. It is the short code for our Cashat Bonanza. And we're doing that with the National Lotteries Authority through its Caritas platform, and Media General and Radio Entertainment are making sure that we're able to give you some good giveaways. And now we have to do the conversation. Dr. Asante is joining us. Good morning to you, Dr. Asante.
Good morning, Roland. How are you, my brother?
I'm well. And I'm here also with...
Nashoko.
Well, certainly.
Good morning, sir. You're welcome to the show.
Good morning.
All right. And so, as it is, we already know that a delegation led by General Abdul Salami Abubakar, they've already met the junta leaders, and subsequently there seemed to be some headway being made. Does that mean, based on those reports, the military leaders in Niger are open to some level of diplomatic engagement?
Hello?
Yeah, Dr. Asante, did you hear my question?
I'm here with you, but I'm sure you have not concluded your question. Please go ahead.
Okay, so I did conclude. So I'm saying that there was a delegation that did meet the ECOWAS team that is led by General Abdulsalami Abubakar. And I'm asking, does it mean or give us the implication or the observation to conclude that the junta leaders or the military leaders in Niger are ready for some level of diplomatic engagement?
Good morning to you again, and good morning to your viewers. I think that I'm sure, certainly sure, that they have picked the signals, so they really want to have a dialogue with ECOWAS. That said, I believe that they are also looking at a situation where they want to also exploit all options and make sure that the best decision is taken. Normally, when military take over like this, and they want to have a dialogue with groups such as what ECOWAS, what they are looking for at the end of the day is that even if they want to disengage or hand over power, they are looking at how they will also be resettled. Where are they going back?
Okay.
Where are they going after leaving power? That kind of thing. So I'm sure that let's see what will happen as we move along.
Doc, I'd like to ask you about the coup or the military takeover in itself. It would appear that military takeovers are illegal by themselves. But when they are successful, they become something other than illegal. Watching on as outsiders, it appears that the ordinary people in Niger have gone to support the junta. So my question is, if a coup which is ordinarily illegal is supported by the majority of the people, does this presumably make it legal or acceptable?
Coups are illegal, as you have rightly put. It's an illegal thing, and the most offense associated with it is high treason, right? So when soldiers remove government like this, constitutional government, of course, then they have committed what? Treasonable offense.
Yes.
And some of the constitution will prescribe death as part of their penalty.
Yes.
It is never illegal. It doesn't matter the popularity that is given by civilians. Let us remember that sometimes the support that people give is out of one, frustration that they've been under previous government, and two, sometimes they have no choice than to support the junta, because soldiers, when they take over, abuses and all that.
Yeah.
These are part of the calculation, and then you'll be deceived into believing and that the soldiers have support and all that. But I can assure you that it is these factors and others that really influence people to behave the way they do. But in actual fact, people really prefer a regime that is constitutional and is able to deliver what they promise. So it doesn't matter the support of the people. It doesn't matter their push and then later actions of that government just to regularize the system. They have committed that illegality long time. And so that is the situation.
Now, as far as this is related, does it mean then that even though we have a sort of an illegality on our hands, the citizens sort of rousing welcoming of the intervention by the military could also mean that the ECOWAS leadership, even though it's doing this through a team, would also have to make sure they convince not only the citizens and then the other countries like Burkina Faso, Mali, and Guinea, who seem also to be in support of the Niger junta, to also come to the table?
If they really want to do a good job, all the actors you have mentioned,
yes,
i.e. the citizens, neighboring countries, and all the political actors must be brought to the table to have a discussion, particularly actors within Niger. You must be able to convince them beyond reasonable doubt that you are prepared to, have their interests at heart, both the soldiers and the civilians and all that. Once you do it anyhow, you are likely to incur the wrath of some of the actors within the political space. Let us know that if you look at the citizens and the way they hail regimes and all that, it is a manifestation of the fact that there is something basically wrong with the previous government, which for which reason they believe that soldiers will be in a better position to address. So these are some of the concerns that you have to also bring to the attention of the people as you are trying to make sure that you get them understand the situation and all that. I can say that it's not an easy task, but I think that there is always a way out if ECOWAS want to really do a good job and they want to put their ears on the ground and then listen to wise counsel from everybody who is interested in making sure that Niger is back onto the democratic world space.
Okay. If you look at the pictures coming out from Niamey, they seem to have met the ousted president Bazoum. But that also means that they are in a certain catch-22 situation or a chicken and egg situation. What happens now that they are negotiating? They decide that these are the terms of the negotiation. This is when, or the timelines for doing the transition back to the democratic process. What do? Do they agree to reinstall the ousted leader? And then what usually is a practice for these military heads then? What happens to them? Shouldn't that be a big concern for the West African leaders?
Please, can you, the tail end of your question, I couldn't get it, if you can repeat it.
So what happens? Is it a reinstauration of the ousted President Bazoum, and then the coup leaders, the military heads, what happens to them?
Yes, as I've already said, when you are doing such negotiations, all these issues come on board. You want to find out. The soldiers will ask you, yes, if you want us to step down, how are we going to disengage? Soldiers think of that very much because, one, they have committed high treason. Are you going to what? Say that, yes, leave, they are prepared to go, but later you turn around and arrest them and then punish them? Is that the case? What is in it for them? What kind of arrangement is made for them? Are you going to make an arrangement that they stay in the country or they stay outside? And who sponsors that? All these things are part of the calculation. because once they've committed that offense, most constitution will tell you that even when the constitution is restored, those people must be punished. So you want to find an lasting solution where you will not touch them forever and ever, and then you will also want to really find a settlement for them. One of the reasons why people stage coups, if you read military literature, they will tell you that they always think of what the resettlement, especially when they stage coups and you want to they want to engage them like this so that they disengage. They are thinking about how they resettle. What are they going to do now that some of them are young and all that? How do they continue their life? So all these things will be part of the package that will be discussed and understood by all parties. And then they leave the scene quietly, either continue to live in the country or live outside at the expense of the state, and make sure that all those conditions that are discussed are met and all the parties also get satisfied. And then you restore the outside government to continue from where it left off. It's a whole gamut of processes that they need to go through. But I believe that we have men and women of substance who have done these things, whether from Africa or outside Africa, who have what it takes, and they are natives of what Africa, who will be able to assist ECOWAS and Niger for that matter, and then the soldiers to be able to arrive at something meaningful for that country. We must also bear in mind that it is in our own interest, our interest, the interest of ECOWAS and that of Niger, to make this arrangement work, so that at the end of the day, they will be able to restore democracy and then continue a good life. There is no life better for me under any regime than a democratic regime, where there is the sigh of relief, where freedom exists, even though sometimes it can be trampled upon. It's far better than being in a military regime where, if all things being equal, you are given all the niceties on earth.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, your rights will be abused with impunity, and the rest of the military regime are nothing to write home about. We don't need them. All that we need is civilian regimes, but the civilian regimes must also learn that there are problems, and those problems are the triggers that really bring soldiers into place. So the new regime, the regime that is likely to be restored, must also right the wrongs and make sure that they govern very well according to the dictates of good governance.
Speaking of civilian regimes, there are reports now that the military junta is promising a 3-year roadmap back to democracy. From your experience, Doc, how often do juntas keep their promise to return to democracy within their own time frame?
Oh, sometimes they do, depending on the type of negotiation you have with them. They are prepared to leave the scene and then allow, once they get their side of the bargain being addressed properly, they will be able to accept all the conditions, and then when the time comes for them to disengage, they will disengage. Some of them, we don't even approach them, and they themselves disengage. We can cite the case of NLC, the National Liberation Council, which in 1966 toppled Kwame Nkrumah. They disengaged and then handed over the reins of government to set in motion the process to restore democracy. And 1969 elections were held, and the soldiers handed over to the government of the Progress Party. The same thing happened in 1979, where it was not under this type of arrangement, but the soldiers voluntarily disengaged and then handed over, after about 4 months, handed over the reins of government to a democratic process that ushered in the government of the People's National Party, led by President Hilary Mann. So it depends upon the dialogue, the level of confidence in it, and then the interests that are addressed to the satisfaction of the actors. Once that is done, at the end of the day, soldiers will disengage.
But from your own assessment of this particular situation, do you think that the military junta in Niger is one that would hand over power to or return to democracy after the 3-year period? And do you think that 3 years is a little long for them to hand over power if they intend to hand over power?
Normally, the discussion will iron out all these things so that the time that they set as the date for the return to the democratic rule will not be out of place because they've considered a whole lot of factors. You want to look at how you resettle these people, the kind of agreement you have made for them before they leave the scene. You want to make sure that those things are put in motion, they are, supported, and then at the end of the day, there's evidence for the people to believe that those conditions exist for them once they also exist the political system. Yes. And then you want to also make sure that the return to democratic rule, remember that it cannot just be abruptly. It should be properly organized so as to usher in the deposed regime easily to continue from where it left off. So it's not that simple. And that is why it takes such a long period, if I may say, for all these things to be addressed so that the country can return smoothly. Because you don't want to do any take any knee-jerk action or decision which will undermine the whole process that you have spent time and resources to address. So that is why sometimes they look at all these things and then they come up with a certain time frame. Let me assure viewers that that type of period that they set in motion is nothing but a period that is able to take into consideration all the needs of the country, the needs of the actors, so that at the end of the day, there will not be any snack that they will hit in the course of time.
Now, there's a bigger consideration that also needs to be made about the sentiments of the Nigerians, that's the larger citizens of the country, and also those in the countries of Guinea, Burkina Faso, Mali, etc., about the influence of France's own penetration and influence in Francophone Africa and what the implications are. How do we put that in the scheme of the transition process? The transition will discuss that the transitional group will discuss all these fine details, and then at the end of the day get to a certain level of consensus as to how to address them, and then much of the conversation will also be tailored towards how the civilian regimes will also be able to administer without incurring in the future the wrath of certain elements within the political space that will undermine it. All right.
So I have no doubt in my mind that issue of security will come up, issue of the French and its influence in the system, that to them it has affected their very survival to some extent. It will also come into the discussion the issue of the economic condition of the country. Remember that Niger is one of the poorest countries.
Okay, let me just...
all these things will be addressed.
Okay, let me just hold your fire there. So we want to make an SOS announcement, and that is that we need personnel of the Ghana National Fire Service who are closer to the premises of the Media General Group, which is around the presidential lane. And we're talking about just near the Jubilee House right here at Kanda in Accra. And those closer, that is the stations that will be closer, will be the headquarters itself. That's just on the lane from the Dankwa Circle area to the Akwa J interchange. Please make sure that you come to the premises of the Media General Group Limited, and or TV3, as we call it, TV3. And please, we have an SOS message to personnel of the Ghana National Fire Service. The closest we know will be the one on the road leading to the headquarters itself on the Ghana Police Service Road, just leading here. Please, we need you. There's an emergency, a fire incident. We're reporting on the premises of TV3. We want you to come in and assist as quickly as possible. Again, an SOS message to the Ghana National Fire Service, and please, any of the stations closest to the premises of TV3 or the Media General Group, please make sure you head towards here because we have a fire incident and then we want your assistance as quickly as possible. Now, just on the subject, Dr. Asah-Asante, are you still on?
Yes, I'm here with you.
Okay, so if that is the case, we know that Niger has been used as a drone launch area by the United States of America. Indeed, there's just a new ambassador of the U.S. to Niger just landing in the capital, Niamey, over the weekend. What are the influences then of the others, the U.S. and then also Russia as well? How do they all come into the equation, knowing their position as it is?
Well, obviously, they are part of the equation because these are the big boys within the global environment. That anything that affects your country, it doesn't matter how small it is, always rub off the international system, and they being the big powers within it are highly interested. And they have already begun to show interest. If you look at the U.S., it is, behind this whole process, and then making sure that peace is restored and all that. Remember, the U.S. has an agenda of making sure that democracy is established everywhere and it works. So this agenda, any group of people who want to undermine it, obviously the U.S., you will not find favor with the U.S. So any process that is also aimed at restoring democracy, if it is truncated in a certain way, the U.S. will be highly interested. So the U.S. have no doubt in my mind, and they are within the system. Look at Russia. Russia is also interested, particularly when you look at the current situation in Africa, where Russia has also introduced the Wagner Group, which are also working along certain lines in Africa and all the rest. You realize that the Russia is highly interested because the current situation in Ukraine has also put the world into two, where you have some powers led by the U.S., that's the West, also engage Russia in a certain manner relative to this type of conflict in Ukraine. And we are gradually seeing Russia, we have not seen them evidently here, but definitely under the underground, they will definitely be here and also be following the processes and all that. So all these things are taken into consideration. Okay. That is why some of us were talking, and the way we were talking, that we should use the diplomatic route and all that, because if you confront the system head on, you don't take care, you will turn the whole process, the whole system upside down. And then we will land in the era of what proxy war, where they will try to divide Africa along the lines of Russia and that of the U.S. To fight this type of thing. So I'm sure the ECOWAS leaders and then the citizens, well-meaning citizens of Niger and even the military junta, they are much alive to this type of dynamics within the global space, and they want to handle it gingerly.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante.
Thank you.
And he is with the Political Science Department, the University of Ghana. And joining us is Dr. Adam Bona, of course, a security expert as well. Good morning to you, Dr. Bona.
Good morning, Roland.
So taking it on from where we left off with Dr. Asah-Asante, do you think the various stakeholders then could give that level of laxity or latitude to the Niger military junta that they could be trusted, especially on the part of ECOWAS, as well as the other individual countries who have great interests in that country and West Africa?
Well, yes. Good morning once again, Roland. Well, the truth is that it's not about trust. It has to do with the circumstances surrounding how this coup took place and probably what led to the coup and the dynamics in the sub-region, I must say. And so issues of trust for now wouldn't be anything if a negotiator is going in, would be looking at. They would have to just keep trying.
Okay.
And I say this because you know other junta leaders in the sub-region. Yeah, Roland.
Please go ahead.
Yes, you know other junta leaders in the sub-region, agreed to some dates and changed them and, gave themselves some time to hand over to a civilian regime. What is most important is to have the ECOWAS leaders probably getting the best of negotiators to go in and negotiate and not probably attempting to do what initially they attempted to do instead of using the act of war as the last option, putting that, in the first, bringing that first. Definitely, that itself is an issue that the junta leaders would be asking themselves, can we trust the ECOWAS leaders? And so I think that they would have to go in doing their best to get the country back to civilian, rule. But the truth is that the fundamentals still remain the same. There's a reason why most of these countries are, going that tangent or going that way. And so until such a time that ECOWAS, the leaders themselves, begin to be honest with themselves and begin to find a way to get citizens of ECOWAS to believe in the dreams and aspirations of ECOWAS, it will be very difficult because you look at the Francophone countries, they have their own unique challenges. And how has ECOWAS itself attempted to help them? So as far as I'm concerned, speaking to some of the CDSs who were in this country, spent about 48 hours. I spoke to one or two, three of them who I personally interacted with. The going to war is, even though it's on the table, I would say, 1 out of 10, I would say it's about 1 out of 10 invading, what's the name? Niger. After their deliberations, it's, the threats reduced from about 7 to about 1 or 2 out of 10, which I think is good. It means that using dialogue and the non-violent approach into bringing, returning the country back to civilian rule would be the best way forward, Roland.
Dr. Bona, the recent spate of coups and military takeovers in West Africa is no doubt very alarming. Do you think, or do you identify any trend in the kind of West African countries that this happens in? For example, Anglophone versus Francophone, or coastal versus a little higher up in the Sahara. The reason I'm asking this question is I believe the answer might be able to help us identify some of the grievances of the military in these areas.
Well, yes. If you look at the Francophone countries, I believe that a lot of people, proponents, those who have spoken will have not minced words at all. The French factor or the France factor. I'm sure the French embassy this morning or the France embassy this morning will be listening to us, and they have their people all around listening. We don't want them in Francophone West Africa. They should get out of Francophone West Africa. These countries are still under the French, and it makes it very difficult for them to do things the way they would have wanted, like we do in Anglophone West Africa. If you go to Cameroon is just around us here. Cameroon has both Anglophone and Francophone. Go and see how the Anglophones are treated vis-a-vis the, the Anglophones. The Anglophones are almost treated badly, and these are things that probably the AU should have been dealing with. So as far as I'm concerned, if ECOWAS doesn't rise up and ask the French or AU and the international community does not rise up to ask the French or the France people to get out of ECOWAS, it becomes very difficult. Remember, if you know the French factor in the genocide in Rwanda, even though Rwanda was, what did you call it, a colony of Belgium, the French were there to train the then, leaders, the army in Rwanda. The French factor was heavy. Their, UN report indicted the French. When the genocide started, the first thing they did was to evacuate their people and leave Belgium. Go to, Ivory Coast, go to, Burkina Faso. Wherever the French have found themselves, there seems to be some, issues. Even in Boko Haram infested Nigeria, when they got there and started training the Nigerian military, later the Nigerian authority got to know that some of the arms the Boko Haram fighters were using were actually, were traced to France or traced to their armory. And so as far as I'm concerned, the French would have to be very candid with us and leave the sub-region so that we can unite. It is no secret, and we all are aware why some of the countries that have had these coups are beginning to say French is no longer going to be our, national language. And so as far as I'm concerned, you cannot have a country like Niger, where uranium, which powers the French, nuclear power that powers the electricity, a lot of it comes from Niger. And Niger doesn't have electricity. As we speak, about 70 to 80% of Niger is in darkness because of the sanctions. Nigeria has cut off electricity. And so as far as I'm concerned, until such a time that citizens of ECOWAS begin to speak, directly to the French, if our leaders can't talk to them, we would have to let them know that we are tired of them, even though those of us in Ghana are not under, whatever arrangement that was signed during when these countries were coming, became independent. We are all in this together, because what happens in Burkina Faso, Mali, Guinea, Niger, Senegal, and all of these countries affect us directly. If our leaders can't speak directly to the French, the citizens should be able to speak to them. Because look at all these countries in the Sahel and the troubles we've had in the Sahel. We have French soldiers in the Sahel. They were in Burkina Faso when, these coups took place in Burkina Faso, isn't it? And so mine is that it is time to tell the French that we've had enough of you. Kindly allow us to govern the sub-region the way we would want to govern the sub-region. But our leaders, unfortunately, have become puppets of the French and, by and large, the US. And so once these things are there and we are watching, you heard, Ambassador Fattah say that, well, we will go into Niger. Then you ask yourself, go into Niger with what? You don't have what it takes to go into Niger. Then he says, we are going to go in with our own resources. But if any friendly nation comes to help us, and so you see the trigger, that they are expecting, they are, those who have been fueling this, the big countries, in quotes, to come in and help them to go. Fortunately, speaking to some of the CDSs, from the sub-region who were here, after their meeting, my understanding was that the issue of invading Niger, they brought it to the barest minimum because they noticed we don't have what it takes as a sub-region. When you hear of a standby force, show me where we have a standby force is it in Ghana, or it is in Niger, or it's in Burkina Faso, or it's in Cote d'Ivoire. Okay. So these are the things we should be talking about as a sub-regional citizens.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Bona, for talking to us this morning. That's all time will allow us. But we've had a very great conversation and we're grateful for your time. We've been talking about the aftermath of the coup in Niger as the military junta promises to return the country to democratic rule in 3 years. We will continue to follow the story and see how it goes. We'd also like to say that thankfully we've been able to put out the fire here at TV3. So thank you so much for all of you who called the fire service. We're grateful. The fire situation is currently under control. Everybody is all right and everything is fine. Thank you.
Well, we have to go for a break. When we come back, we have the latest ban in town. The only Ghanaian to be the recipient of the BBC Komla Dumont Award. And 2023 is the year. It's back home. Pakwesi Asare is next to have some great conversations with us. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
You know the now. You are living the now. You feel secure in the now. But what about tomorrow? What happens when you can no longer do the things you love? What happens to your loved ones when you are no longer here?
Get Mikakrawa from Prudential Life now and protect your future and that of your loved ones. With as little as 3 Ghana cedis, Mikakrawa covers you in case of death, total and permanent disability, or critical illness.
Saga, Abraboy, Uncle Tabu, a Jadandani, the planet of Dutch, 45 city, intimate Jordan. No sweet me say ever bought that. 5 weeks this year, Nadal, star 778 ash. Oh, I'm telling you this year. Come with this year. Come with this year.
Welcome to NLA 590 Mobile. Today we will discuss how you can win cash by playing 590 on your phone or online. Visit 590mobile.com.gh or dial *959# on any handset or network and choose option 7 on the menu for PERM 3. PERMing allows you to increase your chances of a winning combination. PERM 3 gives you 2,100 times your stake amount when 3 or more numbers from your selection appear in any order. You need to select from 4 or up to a maximum of 10 numbers, all between 1 to 90, to play PERM 3. Thank you for your attention. And remember, you can stake your favorite NLA 590 lottery on your phone or online right now. All wins are paid same day, in full, and direct to your Momo.
Please dial 059-692-1590
for any assistance. 590 Mobile. And down some.
Twist cupcakes, simply irresistible. Try one today.
This advert is FDA approved.
Comfort, durability, finishing, quality. Choosing sofas and beds for your home, office or hotel couldn't be easier with an exclusive range of sofas and beds in various designs and colors from Latex Foam. There is so much choice, whatever your budget. Latex Foam, your partner for life.
Everybody knows Acrobato. And if you know Acrobato, it means you know M-Punch Homeopathic Clinic. M-Punch Homeopathic Clinic is my pillar. Let's hear what others are saying about M-Punch Homeopathic Clinic. Who will be careful M-Punch one?
Chese na me ankasa me period na say problems wom. Ntina ma wo ho idea ma me. Papa chese na nya asem ketewa. Na me kwan point no, mo hwe me mogam no mo hwe bibia na so mo meduro. Mo meduro me fire no. Ene ma won kra mienu. Foforo kwa na mkwan mu a eba.
And everything yourself.
Me ma me no adwodwo eda ho a wontumi nante. And then ko end point o mama nura and then the why dia watimi asori anante.
That's end point for you. Of Akrabato. Hello. Hey, Oshisho what che? Okay. A free bra with the end point what dance. I'm a choir no. Me Jones se ma na nkoyie e paso na ma yemre nyina na ma gina sabema na me be fear for there e ho na nyina jaresa. You heard everything. I have secret. End point is my secret. End point homeopathy clinic. I'm free.
The age-old rivalry that senior high schools engage in is still present within alumni. The battle for bragging rights to a particular endeavor remains even after school. If your school can cook, it means your school is here. If your school can boast of good culinary masterminds, this right here is the perfect platform to showcase that skill set. Alumni have met and they have chosen representatives to take up the task of preparing extraordinary dishes to bring victory to their respective schools.
Tell me what you're cooking.
Week in, week out, these schools will mount these workstations in a bid to buy your nutritional affinity to them. Ladies and gentlemen, prepare your taste buds and fasten your aprons. These culinary experts are set to battle for the enviable crown of being tagged Lords of the Kitchen. This is Kitchen Wars Season 2.
Kitchen Wars Season 2, Sundays at 5 p.m. on TV3. Don't miss it.
Sponsored by Gino Tomato Mix.
And Napa Foods. Say Napa. Enye ono soko.
PGL.
Cristiano Ronaldo continues his record.
What a dream debut!
Ghana coming out again, the same squad.
For the ball, he's got it! Throw it down, King!
Sports Station, Mondays, 9 p.m. on TV3.
Sports Station is brought to you by Betway, Nesta Mouthwash,
Flamingo Paint, superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage, simply superior.
Are you ready to win solid cash every day with Cash Out? Be a proud winner of lots of cash simply by watching or listening to any of Media General stations. That's right, you are being rewarded for your loyalty. Tune in to all Media General brands. TV3, 3FM 92.7, Onia TV, Onia FM 95.1, all in Accra, Akuma FM 87.9 in Kumasi, and Connect FM 97.1 in Takrady. To enter the Cash Out raffle on your favorite Media General station, just dial *439#. Follow the prompt and pick your favorite platform to enter. Voila! You are now eligible to become one of the 10 lucky winners of a cool cash prize. Remember, this is every day, all day on your favorite Media General station. Cash out and win big! This is in partnership with Radio Entertainment Limited. This promo is regulated by the National Lottery Authority on the Caritas Lottery platform. Terms and conditions apply.
Are you diplomatic? Don't you have the balls to say to government as it is?
I cannot speak for other bilaterals or what the IMF was said. I can speak for the World Bank. I've always talked about the need to tackle the problems in the energy sector. I've sat in this chair for the last 3 years, and I've always said the same thing.
So what is it that everybody is talking about that the president is not seeing? He says Ken Ofori-Atta is responsible for the sterling economic fundamentals that we chalked between 2017 and 2020.
Go to the streets and ask anybody there about the sterling living standards. You go to the market, it's there. As an investment banker whose job is to borrow money, he did very well. Borrowed for us a competitive rates, at rates we should never have gotten. We give him credit for that. But where we are now, he is, up to his neck. He is no longer the credible person.
Is Sub-Saharan Africa still an attractive investment destination?
I think that it would be more attractive with the power crisis solved. The power contributes to the high cost of power, and the lack of power contributes to the highest cost of doing business in Africa.
We've had to seek for an IMF bailout. What's your own assessment of what has brought us here today?
Yeah, the big issue has been on the fiscal side, right? Because on the one hand, even before the current crisis happened, we observed certain challenges on the budget side that really has been the area more hit by everything.
I've also heard people say that you can never succeed or build a multi-billion-dollar business without the support of a politician or government. Is that not true?
No, that's not true.
But you were quite confident because in an interview that you granted, and I quote, you said the past 2 years were not good. We hit rock bottom first quarter 2015, but as we speak, the worst is over and we are in a positive mood again. What happened after?
Fantastic question. We had a structure or reconstruction document discussed and approved by Bank of Ghana, and we felt that was going to stop the leakage.
If Ken is sacked, what would be the ramifications?
It's good for the economy. You see that things will start stabilizing.
There's a lot happening globally with inflation, growth slowing down, and this has impacted a lot of emerging markets like Ghana. What's your own assessment of what's happening in this part of the world?
We should know that it's not only affected emerging markets, it's really affected even the advanced economy.
Not necessarily incompetent, it just has been unlucky.
No, I'm not saying that. I've said that Ken lacked the skills, the diversity of skills to be leading the economy now.
It was not because Frank Adu was politically connected or had so much influence and so couldn't be touched?
I have no foot in any party. I hold no party card. I don't play a political game.
Hey! What do you do with some cool $2,000? Okay. Here to Win game show is exactly what you need. It's the only game show where you are already rich before you begin to pay. Every week, 2 lucky people stand the chance of winning money. All you have to do is go through some